everybody else, let's see, everybody else was here before, so we said, okay. Our Father in heaven, as we look at some of the mysterious things and some of the things that many people consider extra, we pray that you will help us to find at the center of these things and at the center of the way that we were created, some sort of connection. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, importantly, our TA is going to make sure that I get through the syllabus. And he's telling me, you got to get through the syllabus. So last time he said, you got to get through the syllabus, and then I didn't get through the syllabus. So this time he said, if I don't get through the syllabus, he's going to actually put the brakes on class at 9:30 so that I can get to the syllabus. So I'm gonna be proactive and just go straight to the syllabus. And I'm going to try to just get through it without getting distracted by the topics of the day. How you doing? Excellent. First of all, it might be good if you knew something about what you could do to earn credit in this class. That might be. So we'll go through it more systematically, but I want to jump to some of those things, okay? There will be the possibility of a quiz every class period from this point forward, unless we're having a midterm or a final. Okay, every single class period for the remaining 9 weeks, up to and including dead week, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, you can expect to have a quiz. Now that doesn't mean that you will end up having a quiz, but you might have a quiz. So please be ready for a quiz. The quizzes will be almost always completely multiple choice or true false. Okay? There may be no more than 2 or 3 fill in the blanks, but I will have given you the answer in advance to anything where you'd have to just write in the word. Fair enough? When you have your midterm and your final, your midterm and final questions will be structured exactly like your quiz questions were structured. Okay? Every quiz is cumulative, and both tests are cumulative. If it's on the midterm, I promise everything that's on the midterm will also be on the final. You will be given your midterm back so that you can use it to study. You will be given your quizzes back so that you can use them to study. If it's on a quiz, I promise you it will be on the tests. Okay? You will see it on the final if it's in a quiz, and you will see it if it's by the time of the midterm. If you've had it on a quiz up to the midterm, then you're going to have it on the midterm and quizzes. That is. Does that make sense to everybody? On the midterm and final, you will have essay questions. Probably. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm leaving open that you may have essay questions. But all write the essays. You won't have to write any essays in this class for test purposes. Okay? Because when I have essays, they're multiple choice essays. That means I write several essays, and you have to pick the one of them that's valid, and the others will just be horsemen who are all over the map. And if you can't recognize that by reading through them, then you clearly are not familiar with the material that they cover. All right? Because I try to make them wild enough and ridiculous enough. However, if I try to make it also so that when this term started, probably very few people here would get them right without the familiarity with material we read and that we covered in class. But if you were just here and took part in the conversation and you did the reading, it'll be really clear which things are just silliness. So you don't have to worry about getting marked down, getting 8 out of 10 or anything like that. You either get it right or you get it wrong. You've either chosen the essay that most clearly represents what we covered, or you will have chosen an essay that's just nonsense. I mean, and humorously so. Okay? The quizzes and exams will all be graded by Jose, our TA. And so he'll get them back to you as soon as he can possibly get them graded. My experience has been, because this is not our first time to work together, my experience has been that that's a lot faster than what I get to them and get them graded. They get done ridiculously, meticulously on time and done well and posted up and everything. The grade book will be maintained on Canvas. There will be attendance put up on Canvas. The attendance does not mathematically affect your grade like one of the percentage weights that goes into it. The way the attendance works is if you miss a class unexcused from this point forward, people still adding, I can't take off Monday and Wednesday, but starting today, you miss a class without the serious, I'm really sick, or somebody very close to me, not just my rock idol, died or something like that. I have an emergency. If you miss class, it lowers your grade. Like if you would have had an A, when I get to the end, I count the absences. If you got one absence, I look at it and go, okay, well, they earned an A other than that, so now it's an A minus. If you were gonna have an A minus, it's a B plus. If you were gonna have a B plus, it's a B. And you can see the pattern? I just lower it down one grade step for each unexcused absence. So don't just sleep in, all right? I'm not a morning person. I'm an entirely nocturnal person, and going to bed at this time makes perfect sense to my body. So I totally feel for you that it's a 9 o'clock class, but please do something. Set an earthquake alarm or something like that. Just have 6 people on your floor that are supposed to bang on your door at 8 o'clock or something. Whatever you have to do, set your phone and your 7 alarm clocks and your PC, whatever you have to do to be here, because we only get to meet for 10 weeks and then the final. So we don't want to miss it. The textbooks, the answer to all of your questions about do I need this? Yes, you need this. Please get this. Get it and learn the material in it. It will have quiz stuff that comes out of it and test stuff. Now, I have a certain way of writing quiz questions. I pick certain kinds of things. I don't try to get you on silly little inconsequential details. I try to, like out of a section, I look at it and it'll be like, to get it wrong, you will have not had any familiarity with that, with the point of that paragraph or that section or that page or that chapter. I'm not trying to nitpick between little tricky things, but I will try to make it so that if you're not familiar with the material, you probably won't get it right. Does that make sense? Now, you have an option to take control of that to whatever degree you choose. You'll notice in here that we will buy from you with Kurtz dollars. We will purchase from you. And by the way, this is a good chance for those of you that are in a cold sweat because your participation grade is based largely on your saying things in class, and you're going, I don't say things in class. Well, then you better jump on some of the other opportunities as fast as you can. I'll buy with Kurtz dollars, with participation credit, quiz and exam questions that you write, when I look at them and I go, oh yeah, that's a good question, and that doesn't ask people to learn a bunch of trivial nonsense, that's really an important point about this chapter or this paragraph or this section, whatever, or about something that was said in lecture. If it's just a little funky detail, no. But if it's something that's like a significant point or the principle that we're sharing in class, and you construct a good multiple choice question. Now I may change it. You may submit it as a multiple choice, and I may turn it into a true-false. You may submit it as a true-false, and I may turn it into a multiple choice. You may submit it, and I look at it and I go, oh yeah, and I may work it a little bit differently. I may make it a little less hard or a little more hard or whatever. But if somebody posts a question and I pick it, I buy it, I say right there on the Canvas side, this is purchased, thank you. That always means you're gonna see it on a quiz and then subsequently on the testable tests. Okay? So in theory, you could write most of the quizzes and tests. And if you cover the stuff and I don't need to write the questions, then you will, by doing so, also know in advance what's going to be on the quizzes and tests. It won't be, oh, well, where do you come up with this? If you give me good material, that, in addition to getting a Curse Scholar, everybody will see who contributed it, and they'll be grateful to you for making it so they know exactly what to study for the quiz. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not promising that I'll use the same distractors that you use. I may make, you might give me like 4 choices, and I might go all the way from A to L or M or something on the multiple choice. I may make up different ones. I may even change out some of them because some of them are too confusing or they're so ridiculous. I mean, you got the whole Marvel Comics lineup, you know, or you've got all the Disney characters as the people instead of the person who is the right answer. We'll be modifying that, but if I like the question, I'll buy it. Yes, Mike?
This was on Canvas then, first?
This is on Canvas. There's a discussion thread for possible test and quiz questions. It's already set up. You should already be able to view it. Has anyone seen it? Did anyone get a look at it? You did? Okay, thanks, Kevin. You also have, in a discussion thread in the same place, you're also given the chance to earn Curse Scholars by posting on the thread an audio recording or a video recording of class lecture. Okay? It'll give you more credit. What did we do last time? 3 and 2?
Did 3 and 2.
Okay, if you are one of the first, what are we saying here? 4? Okay, if you're one of the first 4 people to post a day's class lecture.
Well, instead of you can use the Curse Scholars for besides participation.
What do you use it for?
Yeah, besides participation.
Well, sometimes we have options. Some classes don't want them, and so we don't do them, but sometimes I've got a little box full of crappy little items that are like gifts I don't want and things that came by mistake and the things I saw at the dime store or whatever. Or sometimes it has books in it because they send me like hand carts worth of cool books to review as possible texts in classes. So sometimes I throw those in there. Sometimes it's really just a bunch of crap. But I bring those and you can buy those, or you can say, oh man, gets toward the end and you go, shoot, I was absent and I got no excuse. And you go, can I bid Curse Scholars to make up that absence? And then you better have a bunch of them because someone else is going, oh, me too. And I say, well, what will you offer? You say, I'll give you 5. And someone else will say, I'll give you 6. Someone else will say, I'll give you 50 million, and then you're out. And I often don't then say, okay, now would you like to start the bid again until everyone's, it's like one shot with those things. So don't rely on that and sleep in, even if you're contributing a lot when you're coming. Now, if you use it for that, for the auction, you still get participation points just as if you hadn't used it and just turned it in at the end. I figured think that would answer some of the hands that were up, but not all of them. Yes?
So at the end, do you like count up how many we have and that's our participation, or do we have?
No, he does.
But it's based like on.
It is. It's just based on how many you get and how many you need to get a certain grade. I don't know yet. That, I simply look at everybody's spreadsheet. He will basically put in at the end, like after your final, because you'll turn it in at the final. And then when he's grading the final, he'll also be putting in your total Kurtz dollars. He'll just put the number and he'll like put it something ridiculous over 1,000 or something. So it'll make your grade look really frighteningly bogus. But I'll fix it, because I'll go in there and I will then change the denominator to what I believe is the right denominator. And then everyone who's over that, I'll just go in and give them 100%. And everyone who's less than that, it will just calculate the percent based on it. Now, if one person has like $1,200 and the next person has 71, 1,200 is not going to count. If one person has 71 and the next one down is 32, then 32 would probably be the top. I mean, if you get a couple people up there in the aunties, I'll eliminate them, and then the percentage that you need to earn on that will be based on the same percentage for the letter grade for the course. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you use for college for like afterwards, would be able to use them for like quizzes? And
If, yeah, maybe a quiz point on quiz 3 or whatever. That's a typical thing that people bid for. Yes, Erica.
Is 100% the highest you can get on participation? Like if you had, let's say, 70%?
Yeah, 100% is the highest you can get, because I'll take off the top.
Okay, so like. if
It's all you can
have,
get.
like-
Once you get it, you got it. Of course, you can dominate the auctions, right?
Okay, so I know you kind of mentioned it, but to clarify the auction, so if you buy an absence or whatever with your cursor, the cursor still count towards your participation?
They do.
Oh.
Because
so
you'll pay
you
him
could
like the
spend them
cashier,
all.
and then he gives you credit for the one he gets,
Okay.
and it shows up as credit. But then when you turn him in at the end, he adds those to it.
So you could like
Double duty.
spend them all
Uh-huh.
on one thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And not be hurt. for
And not be hurt for
participation.
participation. It doesn't make any difference for participation.
Okay.
Okay?
Like free money.
Yeah, free money.
Is there a limit to how many videos you can upload to like?
There's no limit, no. There's a limit 4 per day, and it's the first 4 people to get viable ones up. If your videos they don't work, or you get the first 3 minutes and then it cuts out and then you get it working again 30 seconds before we dismiss, negative. It has to be the first 4 people to post workable videos or audios, and you can do it every day. If you do it every day, you get astronomical numbers of, well, I mean, how many would that be? Let's just count it. If you do it, say for 9 weeks solid, that's 27 times 3 if it was videos, right? So that's 81, and that's a lot. I mean, you're most of the way there. You're probably all the way there. I can't guarantee that, because if everybody just, I print more of these if I need to. Inflation is a reality in this economy. I will just go straight to the press. I mean, straight to the mint, and I will mint more of these if I need to. It happens. I have started off with 1,000 sometimes, and then done another 1,000, and then had to do a few hundred more because people just are totally into it in large classes. It doesn't really matter how large the class is, because there's only so much time stuff can come out of people's mouths, and so the larger it is, the less chance you get to talk. So that spreads it out. This time we started with, I printed 1,200 so far. We've probably given away, I don't know, 30 by now. Fair enough? Now audio, same thing, but we only give you 2 for the first 4 audio. All right? If you post video and get video credit for the day, you personally may not also for that day get audio credit. You can't turn on your camcorder and also then use the voice memo thing on your phone and then get $5 Kurtz for doing both. Because when we get your video, we got your audio. And it would be easy enough you could split that out and then put it up there and monkey with the system. So if you get the video credit, you're not getting the audio credit for that day. Fair? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am? And would you, is it Cypros?
Yeah, but you can call me Vanessa.
Okay. I'm not sure where you got that from, Cypros, but Cypros is a very pretty name in any event. Vanessa? Okay. A card?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a way that you can regulate how, like, it's not the same for people always?
No, if they're so on it that they get it posted by the time they get 2 steps into the hall, then they've got an ace in the hole. But every time, everyone has the same chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, some people might dominate by their equipment, but life is a lot like that. And even spirituality is like that. Some people are born, literally, genetically, more predisposed and better at, more easily attainable, those things that we consider serious spirituality. And other people are born totally couldn't even care about it or can't quite function that way, which is unbelievably ridiculous. I'll be right back.
What if you don't talk in class, but you go to class every day?
Then you get no participation points for that. None. If you don't come to class, you lose a section of a letter grade. Then if you don't talk and say anything ever, then you're in trouble. You better post some videos or audios, or you better become the master quiz question and test question author. Because you can get serious points that way too. And we'll, did we say what we would give on those? I don't know, because I might up those. Did you just say we give credit?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so let's say that if I buy your quiz or test question, let's give that, should we have 4? Should we be really serious? We want to motivate on that, because there's not that many. So we'll give you 4 Kurtz dollars every time I purchase a quiz or test question from you. Once I purchase it, I own it. When you see it again, you don't get paid again. It was on the quiz, I get it once. Oh, now you use it on the midterm, I get intellectual property right. No, I own it once I buy it, okay? Kelly.
Is there any money in class enough for participation credit, or you have to supplement it with audio or video?
There's enough that I've had people that just, they talk more than I do. I had one student in one of the classes I taught that actually had people threaten to beat him up. I kid you not, and I was having a ball, but apparently everyone else felt like he and I were really just having a private class. Somebody actually offered to rearrange his backside in the parking lot after class, and he came to me all flustered, for real.
So if you post a question and you don't purchase it, do you get nothing?
You get nothing, so make good questions.
How many questions are usually on the quiz?
It's rare that there would be more than, 10. Sometimes there'd be 5. It could be less than that, but I don't recall ever putting less than 5. No, but once I had 11, right, last term. So it depends. Sometimes I might say, well, okay, we'll get it to where they have to staple it onto the second page. But usually I try to keep it to 1 page, not always.
So as far as the quizzes and test questions, do we post them on Canvas, or do we give you ideas in class?
You post them on Canvas. Even if you
Okay.
give me the idea in class, I'm gonna say, well, you might wanna put that on Canvas, I might buy that.
I'm not sure if you spoke about it, I'm hearing the associated, where is it, the audio?
It's in a discussion thread, so you go to discussions, and the only place I put anything is announcements and discussion. And you'll also wanna look at your grades, and he's the one that does most of the stuff with the grade book. Fair enough?
Can you take away Kurtz dollars? Maybe like fine.
You know, I haven't. I haven't. I hated that part of being a cop, having to issue fines to people. I did not write a lot of tickets. That's why I didn't do highway patrol. I didn't do city PD. I was a sheriff's deputy. Like, we don't mess around with that kind of stuff. Someone's got to be killing somebody, and I'm getting there fast to try to stop it, or I'm not interested. So that was my way. So I'm kind of like that here. I mean, if you were like wrecking the class, I'd probably just say, would you stuff that? You know, that but I've never had that happen. I mean, even when everyone else thought that the dude was wrecking the class, I was having a ball because they were really good questions and everyone else was asking nonsense. You know, he was really honest. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a minimum number of questions you want us to post?
Is there a minimum?
Yeah.
Minimum of 0. Maximum of how much time we got. I mean, I might buy more than we can use, but make them really good. And the more you have, the more probability that I'll draw from them. Fair enough? Not only that, when you make the question, you've nailed the point for yourself. I mean, that's the deal. This is not because I'm lazy. If I was lazy, I'll just use last term's quizzes and tests. All I gotta do is just change the date. So that's an easy thing. And there's a lot of professors who don't let you keep your quizzes and don't let you keep your tests. And that's the only reason they don't. Why else wouldn't they? How would it hurt them for you to have that as a learning tool? They just want to reuse it next time. And that's fine. But you can have your stuff as fast as we can get it graded. It's yours, you own it, you can study from it. It's not to convenience us.
You said that the quizzes are cumulative too?
Yeah, anything from day 1
Okay.
until that point, lecture or reading, can be on, there's no, okay, well, this is on today's reading. But we don't go ahead. I'm not going to quiz you Monday on something that isn't really going to come up until May.
But will it mostly be on the reading that was due for that day?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
There may
Just
be a
like-
lag of plenty.
Okay.
So that behooves you to post stuff up that's real good, because
So then,
I'll look there first before I start thumbing through the book. And when I buy it, I'm going to use it right after I buy it. So you'll be able to see that. It's like the announcement is going to be on the tab.
so if you write questions, could we potentially go back to like the beginning of like anything we read and
Yes.
write more questions on that?
Yes.
Do that
But don't submit questions that are too far in advance.
Oh, yeah.
When you put your question, you need to say what date from lecture, from your notes, it came from.
Oh, it's only from lecture that we have the question?
No, if it came from the book, you need to say which book and what page.
Okay.
Fair enough? Because then all I have to do to make sure I don't put something too far ahead is I look at what page in that should you have read up to. And if it's past that, then I wait on the question and come back to it. But I'll look over all the questions. Even if I haven't bought them before, it doesn't mean, oh, it's been 2 weeks, he's not gonna look at mine. I'll look back and forth and shop anywhere I want. Fair? All right.
So will there be a quiz
You go by
question?
Michael or do you
I go
go
by
by-
Mick.
Mick,
Yeah.
okay.
Will there be questions from the Bible passages, or will be
Yes.
only just, okay,
There will be questions from the Bible passages and questions from Steps of Christ.
okay.
Abby?
How do you know if you're gonna are you gonna like comment on a question? Like, on
Yes,
something?
right under it, I say, thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. I have purchased this question, or this question has been purchased.
And then do we get to my new class, like, or we just now?
Well, the thing about it
He'll
is
do
like,
it.
do you guys wanna be paid up front, or I pay you a couple days before the auction? Like, either way, I feel like that's easier, that way you don't get to lose any, and I give you the whole stack instead of one by one.
Okay, well, he's the cashier, that is between you and him, and I don't care what you work out. I mean, if someone goes to him and demands their Kurtz dollars, you know, that's between you and him. And he may say, get out, or he may say, well, okay, but it's gonna take me a day to calculate it. Okay?
So how much of the quiz or test is usually made up of student questions?
As much as there's good questions.
So like,
It could be all of it if it's wonderful.
oh, okay.
You could make them all. That means you'd know in advance, even the first time you saw stuff. Right? I'm not trying to trick you up by having quizzes and tests. You're not here, even if it feels like it and the system forces you to feel this way. We're not getting together having Christian spirituality so that you can get a grade on a quiz or a test. That's the least of my concerns, but it has to be a huge concern of yours because it'll ace out your future if you do poorly. But you have subjected yourself to this for the discipline that it gives you because you're kind of hacking your own motivation system. That's what school is about. That's why I'm in school too. the stuff I have to do in the next 4 weeks from right now, the stuff I have to do for my own semester, for the school I'm enrolled in, is, I can't even imagine how I'm gonna get it done. And if I wasn't in school, about to fail, if I didn't get these 3 major things taken care of, there's no way in the world I'd ever even consider trying to do that much in 4 weeks. And I have not, and I haven't been slacking, it's just that's how much is left to do. And it's the last things I'm supposed to do if I finish them and they're accepted. That means I'm in dissertation by summer. Other than that, I have to retake stuff, which would set up my, so it ruined my life. So I have, it's there to motivate us, even though we hate it when it gets to be late at night.
Are we allowed to use Chris dollars for points on the test or quiz?
Yeah, if it's not like, hey, you say, I've got a curse dollar, you have to give me. It's like if we have an auction, and if I'm in the mood, and you think of it, and I go, yeah, okay, then, so it's really no promise. Auctions are all a bonus. I make no promise to give you any particular thing in an auction. I may or may not remember to bring that box of crap from the dime store or whatever, and I may or may not ever give but I might.
Does that apply to the final too?
What?
Does that apply to the final as well?
Everything we've said, I think, applies to the final. I think, I'm going to clarify because I can't think of anything we've said that you could mean that doesn't apply. Do you want to just, let's test that theory. Which thing did you have in mind? Does what apply to the final?
Like using the Chris dollars to make your own question.
Yes, I'll be shopping for the final the same way as the midterm and the quizzes.
But does that only benefit you, like the individual who buys with the Chris dollar?
No, let's separate 2 things. I'll pay you for your questions, including questions that I use on the final that we haven't had before. And also, sometimes in the auctions, people say, we haven't even had the final yet, but I'd like to bid for 1 point on the final, because just in case I miss one. And sometimes I say, okay, man, the bidding goes way up in 30, 40, 100, whatever. Did that answer your question? Outstanding. Mike?
So 2 questions. One, are you the only one that decides then when auctions would start?
Yes.
All right. And then the second question, I actually forgot to go ahead.
That was easy.
So it's like every class grade is gonna be similar to this, like just any question or any questions that's asked to the scholars?
Yeah, when they're on topic, if mostly you're just curious about whether I worked out yesterday or not, nobody cares about it. And they'll beat you up in the front.
Did you work out
So
yesterday?
just like from lecture, any questions asked.
They're irrelevant, right? If it's just some silly smart aleck thing, then I'm just gonna go marvelous and move right on. But if it's said, oh yeah, good question, and I miss it, then you're paying. Do you like that? Excellent.
Other than participation points, is there any way you're able to actually credit for the class?
Not that I know of, no. No.
So the only time to ever be able to use these for quizzes or anything is during the auction. Is there any way we could bribe you to start an auction that day or?
Oh, somebody say, I will give you so many curse dollars to start an auction.
Yeah.
We would only have a few auctions at all anyway, because they take a long time. And we have a whole bunch of stuff to cover. And the process stuff, this is a major discipline thing for me to just be doing process now. I can't wait to get into the content. I've got some really mind-blowing things to share. You're gonna go, nuh-uh. And you're gonna have to go check and see if I'm just full blown. And I can't wait to see you do that. So I have trouble with the process things.
So the question is, can we go ahead and get into the content?
Well, I still have to look at a couple things on here, but then yes, fast as we can. He's trying to call the question. He's preparing to be the pastor who chairs the church board and who gets tired of arguing for 3 board meetings in a row on whether to switch trash services to the other company. I've been there. On and on with threats. So serious to them and so impinging on the gospel.
Sorry,
It's all right.
The way
You
this
don't have to be
auction,
sorry.
the way this auction works, say if Kevin says, I'll give you 3 curse offs to give me a point on my quiz, and I'll say I'll give you 4 for my test, are we fighting over different things?
No, it'll only be over the same thing. If I call an auction and then he says, hey, could I bid on that? I said, okay, well, what would you start the bidding with? You go 3, and then you can just say 4.
So only one person will get that ultimate reduction.
Yeah. And then if you someone outbids you for what you asked for, and I'm not gonna like do 7 times for 1 point on the quiz we just had, when it's the only quiz we've had. It's like until everybody's satisfied that no one's got any curse dollars and no one's lacking any points on the quiz. It'll just be like a one-shot deal for stuff like that.
For each auction, on average, how many offers do you give? Like, okay, you have like a test, a quiz, and
Just going by it.
points, like, how many offers?
Oh, like how many things go for
For,
auction?
yeah.
It depends. Sometimes 5 or 6, sometimes just 2 or 3. Sometimes more at the end if we just really, but you know, it blows a lot of times because people start raising by 1 curse dollar and then 15 minutes later they've settled 1 quiz point for what we do.
Anybody miss attendance at an auction?
You know, I've had people do that. Usually, we did that last time. It's something that I'll consider. Yeah.
Can we talk about the class paper some?
Oh, yeah, the paper. Okay, let's go to that. There's so much junk, I can hardly find the real stuff. Writing assignment, due before 9 a.m. Friday, June 9. Students will each write and submit electronically through the online course shell 5 to 7 page paper characterizing their personal spiritual journey, describing their identification of and experimentation during this term with at least 2 personal spiritual practices growing out of both historic Christianity and the Seventh-day Adventist spiritual tradition, explaining how those practices are best specifically suited for their own spiritual growth, evaluating how each practice contributed to personal spiritual growth, and describing plans for intentional future spiritual development. Now, that last phrase doesn't have to be you intend to use those. You can say one thing, and I'm definitely not using those because those things are worthless to me. But here's what I do plan to experiment with in the future. So on that last one, you don't have to say the ones you picked were glorious. You can say, I did them, it was a flat experience, or I had a bad experience. It brought up harmful memories and gave me no way to deal with them, or whatever. You know, but I want you to chronicle the experience and plug into your path. What is your spiritual path? What kind of spirituality do you identify with? Is it the kind that you want to do like lots of good works? You want to lots of mission trips? You want to do you want to start a leprosarium, or you want to raise money for an orphanage, and just you're good at raising money, but you don't like to deal directly with people who have problems, but you just want to be making a difference. To you interpret that as spiritual. Or is it a matter of I'm memorizing the Gospels and I'm memorizing the Proverbs, and that really does it for me. I spend 2 hours a day. I read each verse 1,000 times until it will say itself and it becomes an earworm for the day, and then I go to the next. I mean, is it that, or is it for you very cognitive? Is it about I want to deepen my understanding of the book of Revelation like nobody ever before? Whatever it means to you, what are you going to do to actually, instead of just mouthing about it, do the thing during this 10 weeks?
It says, like it's a personal kind of experience.
It is.
How are you grading that? Like, are you grading it on like the content, or if you feel that like you learned enough? I don't know how to explain it. Like,
Yeah.
since it's personal, then.
Well, notice how many things I put in the description. With the things that I just read, those things have verbs, and they have subjects and objects of the verb, and adjectives and adverbs. I'll use those as evaluation points, but there's no rubric. There's no fill in the blanks. It's not something that a machine could do for you. It's only something that a person could do. So it's going to be based on subjective quality. Now, I want to give you a little insight into something that's a trick that the educational establishment does on you. You have probably, most of you, bought into this. If there's a rubric, you feel like it's objective. Look, there's 20 points on this rubric that I have to meet, and you go down and the person gave me a 3 out of 4 on this one, a 2 out of 3 on this one. I got 4 out of 4 on the rest. So that's not subjective. The heck it's not. You can have a rubric for the rubric, and then another rubric for every point for that rubric. Ad infinitum. But at the end of the day, every single point where someone stopped having another rubric, they use subjective judgment to say whether you did the thing. It just makes the argument about smaller issues. It's like divide and conquer. It still means they found it acceptable subjectively. That's all it is. When a human being decides you met this or you didn't meet this. So, I mean this as a package, but I'll be looking for you actually having done the assignment. And if it's a bunch of trivia, if you said, I had a beer and I read comic books. When I was totally stumbling over drunk, I think I might have an epiphany. Either that or it was just me hitting my head on the bar stool. That's going to be a big, fat, slimy 0. You know? Yes, sir.
Will we be penalized for going over the 7-page limit?
Well, I mean, if it's 70 pages, you're penalizing me. I don't have time to read that. Oh, wait, maybe I will. I'll be done with my term. I get done in May 7 as my last anything for my term, so I got all the time that we had. Knock yourself out. No, it doesn't make any sense to write any longer than that. Don't put that kind of time to write 27 pages. It's an overkill, and you've got other class. This is not your only class, right? Are the others hard?
Yeah.
Save some time for them.
Can we write this in double space?
I want it in double space. I want it in APA. If you haven't figured out what APA is, this is a good chance to figure it out. Every term, oh, can I please do MLA? And then I say, okay, and they turn it in. And it's not MLA, it's not APA, it's I'm in 3rd grade. Do
But is this like the only like project type thing you have besides the quizzes, tests? Is the paper the only like other thing?
Do you need any references or no?
Say that again, Ron.
Do you need, references?
Oh, you mean like citations from outside sources? You could. You may. If you use them, then definitely give them proper credit according to the APA. They're going in your references, and you're going to say the person's last name and the date and what page if you quote. You don't have to put the page if you don't quote. Fair enough? Yes, sir, June.
What happens if you turn it in late?
You can't. You won't be able to because it'll have a date on the Dropbox, and then you'll go, how come there's no button to push? I can't submit it.
So it talks about while you're inside the paper, that it has to be during this term. If there is a past life event they talk about with you, would that
That's
be
fine.
accepted?
But please also
Uh-huh.
relate to what you do in this term.
All right, yeah.
Don't say, I did the spiritual thing, I crossed it off my list. That was 2 summers ago at camp.
Yeah, so like
I'm
an
good.
application?
No, this time you should be choosing some spiritual practice, some actually doing it thing
Mhm.
that isn't just a one-shot deal. That you can work on during this term. I mean, if it was a one-shot deal, I mean, if you're gonna take a week and you're gonna get excused for everything and go to a monastery and
Yeah,
you're literally gonna sit and a Zen master is gonna,
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
all right, good.
And we'll talk about how you doing Christian meditation at a Zen center.
Yeah,
If, we miss class because we're like sick, but.
Then that's excused.
But if we don't go to the doctor and get a doctor's note, then how does that?
Well, here's the thing. I'm this close to a PhD in psychology with a certificate in psychophysiology, and I've been an EMT since some of your parents were born. If I evaluate a medical thing and it's horse manure, it won't just be I'll deny it, it'll be considered academic dishonesty. And I spent 16 years as a cop. Don't lie to me. You know, what was that thing about this, the psychologist that did there was a series on TV about the guy that reads facial expressions. Lie to me? Yeah. That guy that it's based on, by the way, interestingly, I'm on his mailing list, and his daughter got him all wound up with the Dalai Lama, so he's all interested in Buddhism now. It's a funny story. But I really identify with that guy. Don't lie to me, just tell me the truth,
So
all right?
if we like explain to, like if we email you before the class period and like explain like.
Yeah, and I may follow up on it, okay? I may follow up. It should be an exception and not the rule. If you have a medical condition or something, so that you're gonna have stuff like, if you're brand new diagnosed type 2 diabetes, and you're having trouble learning to manage it, or you just got a pump or whatever, you come and you talk to me about that, so I'm aware of it, and then you say I was low and I don't know what to do and all of that. Okay? We still got a minute.
Do you prefer primary sources or secondary sources for the paper?
Well, I prefer primary, but if you can't get them, like it would require you to buy into a journal that PC doesn't have any of their EBSCO host or academic career or anything, then I'll understand if you just quote from someone else quoting. Well, you might, it depends on what you do. I mean, in most cases, doing a legitimate job, don't start writing it now. We haven't even started talking about what a spiritual practice is or how you would.
I might record your face.
If you don't
Sorry
have
about
any
that.
sources, it might look like you didn't really look into it at all. I can conceive of some ways that you could do without any, but it would be really, there'd be something offsetting. Any other questions before we go? Okay. We did this the whole time. It's killing me. I'm pent up now.